August 14, 1947. Small's Paradise Barbershop, 135th and 7th Avenue, Harlem. 3 men walk through the door with guns under their coats, and Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson is sitting in the chair with hot lather on his face and a straight razor at his throat. The barber's hand is shaking. Bumpy's eyes are closed. That's exactly why the lead hitman thinks this will be the easiest $50,000 he's ever made. What happened in the next 90 seconds became the most talked about survival story in Harlem history. 3 professional killers, 1 unarmed man, 12 witnesses, and when the gun smoke cleared, 2 bodies on the tile floor, 1 man crawling out the door leaving a blood trail on 135th Street, and Bumpy Johnson walking out with nothing but a nick on his cheek and shaving cream still behind his ear. The Italian mob families held emergency meetings for 3 straight nights trying to understand what went wrong. The NYPD found 17 shell casings and couldn't figure out the bullet trajectory. And for the next 30 years, when street soldiers talked about Bumpy Johnson, they didn't talk about his numbers empire or his protection rackets or even his friendship with Malcolm X. They talked about the barbershop. They talked about how a man facing certain death turned a straight razor and 60 seconds into a masterclass in survival. They talked about the look in his eyes when he stood up from that chair. This is the true story of reputation, respect, and the moment that proved why Bumpy Johnson was the most dangerous man in Harlem, not because of how many men he controlled, but because of what he could do when control was stripped away. But to understand what happened in that barbershop, we need to go back 3 weeks. July 1947, World War II is over. Harlem is booming. The numbers racket, illegal lottery gambling, is pulling in $15 million a year, and Bumpy Johnson controls 70% of it. He's 40 years old. He's done 2 stretches in Sing Sing, and he's built something the Italian 5 families thought was impossible, a black criminal empire that operates independently in their city. Bumpy didn't ask permission, didn't pay tribute, didn't bow. He had his own collectors, his own enforcers, his own network of runners working every tenement, barbershop, and pool hall from 110th Street to 155th. He employed 300 people. He paid cops, judges, and city councilmen. And most importantly, he had something money couldn't buy: the respect of every working man and woman in Harlem who played his numbers and knew he paid out fair when they won. That respect made him untouchable, or so he thought. The Genovese crime family had been watching. Carlo Marconi, a Capwargime operating out of East Harlem, saw those $15 million a year and wanted his cut. He approached Bumpy in July at the Red Rooster on Lenox Avenue, sat down uninvited, slid a piece of paper across the table with a number on it, $500,000. "That's the partnership fee," Marconi said. "Annually." Bumpy folded the paper into a tiny square, put it in his mouth, chewed it, and swallowed it while maintaining eye contact. "I don't have partners," Bumpy said. "I have employees and enemies. Choose." Marconi smiled, stood up, buttoned his coat. "You just did," he said. 2 days later, one of Bumpy's top collectors, a man named Raymond Sweet Ray Coleman, was found in the Harlem River with his throat cut and his collection bag empty. $17,000 gone, but it wasn't about the money. It was about the message. Bumpy didn't retaliate immediately. That's not how he operated. He watched, listened, put word on the street that he was looking for information. And what came back was worse than he expected. Marconi had put a contract out. $50,000. Professional hitters from Philadelphia. Men who didn't know Bumpy's face, didn't care about his reputation, didn't have emotional attachments to Harlem politics. Clean, efficient, final. Bumpy's lieutenants told him to disappear for a month, go to Chicago, let things cool down, come back when Marconi got distracted with other business. But Bumpy Johnson didn't run. Running meant weakness. Weakness meant other families would test him. Other crews would move on his territory. The whole empire would crumble not because of violence, but because of perception. "Let them come," Bumpy told his men. "I'll be where I always am." And every Thursday at 3 p.m., Bumpy Johnson was at Small's Paradise Barbershop getting a shave from Leon Mills, the same barber who'd been shaving him for 12 years. August 14th starts like any other Thursday. Bumpy wakes up in his apartment on Edgecombe Avenue, checks in with his collectors, counts the previous night's take from the numbers, $23,000. He eats breakfast at Wells Chicken and Waffles, reads the newspaper, tips the waitress $5 on a $2 check. At 2:45 p.m., he walks to Small's Paradise Barbershop. His driver offers to go with him. Bumpy waves him off. "It's a barbershop, Jimmy. What's gonna happen?" What Bumpy doesn't know is that 3 men arrived in Harlem that morning on the train from Philadelphia. Vincent Sarno, age 32, 7 confirmed kills. Michael "Mikey" Hooks DiNardo, age 28, 5 confirmed kills. And Anthony Colty, age 24, the youngest but the most ruthless, 9 confirmed kills, including 2 made men who died screaming. They have one photograph of Bumpy Johnson. It's 3 years old and slightly out of focus, but they have detailed information about his routine. They know about the barbershop. They know about Leon Mills. They know that every Thursday at 3 p.m., Bumpy sits in the second chair from the window with his back to the door. They know he doesn't bring bodyguards to the barbershop because it's neutral ground, a community space. Bringing muscle into Smalls would be disrespectful to Leon, to the customers, to the culture of the place. That respect, that code, is exactly what's going to kill him. Marconi gave them explicit instructions. Walk in, confirm the target, 3 shots center mass, walk out, don't run. A car will be waiting on 134th Street. Simple, professional, done 100 times before. At 2:50 p.m., the 3 hitmen position themselves. Sarno parks a stolen Buick on 134th. Mikey Hooks and Colty walk up 7th Avenue carrying violin cases. Inside each case, a .38 revolver and a backup, .32. Meanwhile, Bumpy walks into Small's Paradise Barbershop at exactly 3 p.m. Leon Mills looks up from sweeping hair and smiles. "Mr. Johnson, right on time." "Always am, Leon." Bumpy hangs his hat on the rack, removes his jacket, a tailored gray suit jacket that cost more than most Harlem families made in a month. Under the jacket, a white dress shirt. No gun, no knife, no weapon. He sits in the second chair, leans back, closes his eyes. Leon drapes the barber's cloth around his neck, tucks it in, and begins mixing the shaving lather. Hot water, soap, the smell of bay rum and talcum powder. The radio plays Duke Ellington. 2 other customers sit waiting, older men reading newspapers, half asleep in the August heat. Leon applies the hot lather to Bumpy's face. Thick, smooth, covering his jaw, his cheeks, his upper lip. Then Leon picks up the straight razor. He's stropping it, sharpening it on the leather strap hanging from the chair when the door opens. 3 men walk in. Leon looks up. His hand stops mid-strop. Something is wrong. These 3 men don't belong here. They're white in a black barbershop. They're wearing heavy coats in August, and their eyes are scanning the room like cops or worse. Bumpy's eyes are still closed. Sarno, the lead hitman, looks at the photograph in his mind, looks at the man in the second chair. The build is right. The age is right, but the man's face is covered in white lather. "We're looking for someone," Sarno says to Leon. Leon's voice shakes. "Barbershops for customers. You need a shave." Mikey Hooks steps to the left. Colty steps to the right. They're flanking the chair now, Classic execution positioning. The two customers in the waiting area sense it. One drops his newspaper. The other stands up slowly, hands raised and backs toward the door. Bumpy's eyes are still closed, but his breathing has changed. Slower, controlled. Leon knows who these men are here for. He knows what's about to happen. And he knows if he warns Bumpy, they'll kill him too. He's got a wife and 3 kids. He's got rent due. He's got no reason to die for a gangster in his chair. But Leon Mills has known Bumpy Johnson for 12 years. 12 years of Thursdays. 12 years of conversations about life, family, respect, and survival. 12 years of watching Bumpy tip every shoeshine boy, every street vendor, every kid selling newspapers. 12 years of seeing him walk through Harlem like a king who actually cared about his kingdom. Leon does something that will save Bumpy's life. He presses the straight razor against Bumpy's throat, and he presses just a little too hard. Bumpy's eyes open, not in fear, in awareness. He sees the reflection in the mirror in front of him. 3 men, hands moving toward their coats, positions calculated for crossfire. Bumpy doesn't move his head, doesn't turn around, just looks at Leon in the mirror. And Leon's eyes say everything. I'm sorry. This is it. But here's what nobody in that room knows about Bumpy Johnson. In 1936, he was jumped by 5 men in an alley behind the Cotton Club. They beat him with pipes, bats, and chains for 7 minutes. Left him with a fractured skull, 3 broken ribs, and a punctured lung. Doctors said if he lived, he'd never walk right again. Bumpy was out of the hospital in 3 weeks and back on the street in 6. The 5 men who jumped him, 4 disappeared. 1 was found in the Bronx with a note pinned to his chest. Respect is earned in blood. In 1940, he was arrested and put in Sing Sing. A guard named Patterson took pleasure in humiliating him, made him strip naked in the yard, called him slurs, beat him in his cell where no one could see. Bumpy waited 2 years, studied Patterson's routine, learned his schedule. And one night in the prison laundry, Bumpy and 3 inmates cornered him. They didn't kill him. They broke both his arms and left him alive as a message. You can cage me. You can't break me. Bumpy Johnson survived because he understood something most men didn't. Violence isn't about strength. It's about timing. It's about turning the moment, the single breath between life and death, into an advantage. And in that barbershop with 3 hitmen closing in and a straight razor at his throat, Bumpy sees his moment. Sarno reaches into his coat. That's when Bumpy moves. His right hand shoots up and grabs Leon's wrist, the wrist holding the razor, not to push it away, to pull it closer. He yanks Leon forward, throwing him off balance, and in the same motion, Bumpy rips the razor from his hand. It happens in less than a second. Sarno's gun clears his coat. Bumpy pivots in the chair, slashes the barber's cloth free with the razor, and throws it at Sarno's face. The white cloth opens midair like a sail, blocks Sarno's vision for a fraction of a second. That's all Bumpy needs. He launches out of the chair, razor in hand, and drives the blade into Sarno's gun hand. The razor cuts through tendon, muscle, and nerve. Sarno screams. The gun drops. Blood sprays across the white and black tile floor. Mikey Hooks pulls his gun. Bumpy grabs Sarno's wounded arm and swings him like a shield. Hooks fires. The bullet hits Sarno in the back. Sarno gasps, a wet, choking sound, and slumps forward. Bumpy lets him drop and charges Mikey Hooks. Hooks fires again. Misses. The bullet shatters the mirror behind the barber chair. Glass explodes across the shop. Bumpy closes the distance. Hooks tries to aim again, but Bumpy slashes the razor across his forearm, not deep, but enough. Hooks drops the gun. Now Colty, the youngest, the most ruthless, pulls his weapon. He doesn't aim for Bumpy's body. He aims for Bumpy's head, and he pulls the trigger. The shot is clean, professional, exactly where it should be. But Bumpy drops into a crouch at the exact moment Colty fires. The bullet passes over his head and punches through the front window of the barbershop. The glass explodes outward onto 7th Avenue. People on the street scream and scatter. Bumpy doesn't stop moving. He drives his shoulder into Colty's stomach, slamming him backward into the wall. The impact knocks the wind out of Colty. His gun hand wavers. Bumpy grabs his wrist, twists it. Bones crack. Colty screams. The gun falls. Bumpy kicks it across the floor. Now it's just the two of them. No guns, no distance. Just a razor in Bumpy's hand and pure terror in Colty's eyes. "Who sent you?" Bumpy asks. Colty says nothing. "Who sent you?" Colty spits in his face. Bumpy's expression doesn't change. He wipes the spit away with his free hand. And then, calm, controlled, deliberate, he presses the razor against Colty's throat. "You came to my neighborhood to kill me." In a barber shop, Colty is breathing fast, panicked. He looks at the door, at the bodies, at Leon, who's backed into the corner shaking. "Marconi," Colty gasps. "Carlo Marconi sent us." Bumpy nods slowly. "Thank you," and then he pulls the razor away. Colty blinks, confused, alive. "Get out," Bumpy says. "Tell Marconi what happened here. Tell him every detail. Tell him if he wants me dead, he needs to send better men." Colty doesn't wait. He scrambles toward the door, slipping in the blood, crawling over Sarno's body, and stumbles out onto 135th Street. Bumpy stands there, breathing hard, shaving cream still behind his ear. Blood, none of it his, splattered across his white shirt. He looks at Leon. "You all right?" Leon can't speak, just nods. Bumpy picks up his jacket from the chair, puts it on, adjusts the collar, picks up his hat, places it on his head at the exact angle he always wears it. Then he walks to the door, steps over the bodies, and walks out into the Harlem sunlight. Within 2 hours, every crew in Harlem knows what happened. By that night, the Italian 5 families know. Carlo Marconi goes into hiding for 3 days. When he resurfaces, he sends an emissary to Bumpy with a message. "The contract is canceled. This was a misunderstanding. There's no issue between us." Bumpy's response is short. "There never was. But Marconi's reputation is shattered. You don't put a hit on a man and then apologize when it fails. The other capos see weakness." Within 6 months, Marconi is demoted. Within a year, he's dead, killed by his own people for incompetence. The barbershop becomes legendary. Tourists start showing up. Reporters ask questions. The NYPD investigates but finds 12 witnesses who didn't see anything clearly. Leon Mills becomes the most famous barber in Harlem, but he never talks about it. When people ask, he just says, "Mr. Johnson got his shave. That's all." Bumpy never hires additional security, never changes his routine, still shows up at Small's Paradise Barbershop every Thursday at 3 p.m. for the next 15 years until Leon retires. Because here's what that moment proved. Reputation isn't built on how many men you control or how much money you make. It's built on what you do when everything is stripped away. When you're unarmed, outnumbered, sitting in a chair with your eyes closed. Bumpy Johnson walked into that barbershop as the most powerful man in Harlem. He walked out as a legend. And for the next 20 years, until his death in 1968, no one ever tried to kill Bumpy Johnson again. Not because they couldn't, because they remembered the barbershop. They remembered 3 professional hitmen. And they remembered the man who walked out alive with nothing but a straight razor and shaving cream behind his ear. This is what separated Bumpy Johnson from every other gangster of his era. It wasn't the money. It wasn't the territory. It was the ability to turn the worst moment of your life into the defining moment of your legend. If you want more untold stories of Harlem's criminal elite and the men who built empires in the shadows, subscribe and hit that notification bell. These are the stories Hollywood won't tell you. Drop a comment. What would you have done in Bumpy's situation? Would you have fought? Would you have run? Let me know. This is the real story, not Hollywood, the legend.